It was supposed to be just another Saturday morning in the small town of Willow Creek. The shooting range on the outskirts of town was buzzing with excitement. Today wasn't just any day. It was the annual state shooting championship, and people from all over had gathered to watch the best of the best compete. The reigning champion, Ethan the Hawk Miller, was there, tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of man who could make a rifle look like a toy. For 3 years straight, no one had come close to touching his score. He wasn't just good, he was cocky, confident, and downright intimidating. The crowd adored him. Well, most of the crowd. I was there too, sitting quietly at the far end of the bleachers, sipping coffee from a paper cup. And next to me sat my aunt, Margaret. Margaret wasn't what you'd call a competitive sports type. She was 58 years old, worked part-time at the local library, and preferred gardening to crowds. But there was one thing almost no one in town knew. Before she moved here, Margaret had spent decades training in marksmanship, not at fancy ranges with cheering crowds, but in the quiet, still woods of her childhood home. She hadn't touched a rifle in years, but when she saw the flyer for the championship pinned to the bulletin board at the grocery store, she smiled and said, "Maybe I should go see how rusty I've gotten." We arrived early, but even then, Margaret didn't seem to fit in. Everyone else wore tactical gear, branded shooting caps, and expensive custom rifles. Margaret wore faded jeans, an oversized sweater, and carried an old wooden rifle case that looked like it had been through 2 world wars. When we walked up to the registration desk, the young man behind it didn't even look up from his clipboard. "Sorry, ma'am, spectator entrance is over there." Margaret smiled politely. "I'm not here to watch, I'm here to compete." He raised an eyebrow. "You want to compete? You know this is the state championship, right?" "Yes," she said simply. He smirked, shrugged, and handed her a participant badge, the kind of smirk that said, "This will be over quick. We found a spot near the practice range." And that's when the whispers started. Some younger competitors snickered. One of them, a tall guy in full camo, walked by and muttered just loud enough for us to hear, "Maybe she's here to knit us sweaters after." Margaret didn't respond. She just opened her rifle case, pulled out an old bolt action rifle, and started cleaning it. When Ethan Miller saw her, he actually laughed. "Who let Grandma into the championship?" he called out. The crowd chuckled. Even the announcer cracked a grin. Margaret simply glanced his way and said, "Careful, young man. Pride makes a poor shield." The competition began. Round after round, shooters stepped up to the line, blasting through targets at impressive speeds. Ethan was untouchable, hitting bullseye after bullseye with casual precision. The scoreboard lit up with his perfect scores, and the crowd roared. When it was finally Margaret's turn, the air was awkward. Some people wandered off to get snacks, assuming her round wouldn't be worth watching. Even the cameraman lazily adjusted his focus. She stepped up to the firing line. The referee called out, "Shooter ready." Margaret nodded. The timer beeped. She raised her rifle, and for a moment, everything went silent. Her first shot rang out. The target, a small red dot 200 yards away, shattered dead center. The crowd froze. The referee actually blinked twice, checking the scoreboard to make sure it wasn't a glitch. Her second shot landed directly in the first hole. The third, same thing. By the fifth shot, the entire crowd had gathered back to the bleachers, murmuring in disbelief. Ethan leaned forward in his seat, jaw tightening. The champion had just been challenged. Margaret finished her round with a score no one had ever seen before. A perfect, unbroken cluster in the dead center of the target. The announcer's voice cracked as he read out her score, and the crowd erupted into cheers. But it didn't end there. Ethan insisted on a tiebreaker round. The organizers, sensing drama, agreed it would be a moving target challenge, a target swinging side to side at a distance most shooters struggled to hit even once. Ethan went first. He was good. No one could deny that. Out of 10 shots, 9 landed within the inner circle. The crowd cheered. Then Margaret stepped up. Her breathing slowed. Her hands were steady as stone. One by one, every single shot struck dead center. 10 perfect hits. The place went wild. People were on their feet. Even a few of Ethan's die-hard fans were clapping for her. Ethan. He just stood there, stunned, his championship title slipping away in front of the cameras. After the event, reporters swarmed Margaret, asking how she did it. She smiled and said, "Sometimes the quiet ones are just waiting for the right moment to speak."